Chapter 851, 20 Days. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Zhou Yufei, Senior Marshal Brothers Yuge, and the group of geniuses finally arrived near the tree, but by the time they arrived, the Blue Serpent King and the Thousand Changes illusionist dragon were already running away after their encounter with Zhou Feng. More precisely, the duo didn't have any ability to fight against Zhou Feng's gaze of the god at all and were barely able to survive. Although the duo wasn't killed, Zhou Feng had taken their substandard god weapon, the misty spatial world. While there was greed and unwillingness in the arriving king's eyes after seeing Zhou Feng acquire a substandard god weapon, there was more fear and weariness. One of the biggest reasons they chased after the duo in the first place was because of the substandard god weapon, so they were filled with disappointment and lost their motivation after Zhou Feng got it. They didn't have the courage to steal the substandard god weapon from Zhou Feng right now. The youth's left eye returned to normal. The strength of those two souls is close to the emperor level, and because of their bloodlines, bodies, and the Black Destruction Serpent Dragon's help, it'll be very hard to kill them. Zhou Feng looked in the direction that the duo escaped in. In a head-on fight, the chance of Zhou Feng winning against the duo was quite slim. Even with Nan Gongqing's help, the odds were only 50-50. The gaze of the god eye was the best technique to capture or kill the duo, but it failed. However, Zhou Feng's goal was basically reached. He taught the Blue Serpent King duo a lesson while taking the substandard god weapon as well. He also managed to show off in front of the other forces. Now, Senior Marshal Brothers Yuge and the other kings didn't dare to attack Zhou Feng and Nan Gongqing when they saw them. What beautiful methods you have, and you managed to help against those non-humans. The fake purple-haired demonic duo that ambushed everyone should be the Blue Serpent King and the Thousand Changes illusionist dragon. Senior Marshal Brothers Yuge went up and gave a smile. The Forbidden Eye bloodline technique that Zhou Feng just used shocked everyone. Apart from Senior Marshal Brothers Yuge, Zhou Yufei, and a couple others, no one else dared to get too close to him. I told you that Brother Zhou Feng wouldn't do that kind of thing. Zhou Yufei went forward with happiness. Just a moment ago, she was worried when she saw Zhou Feng standing off against the Blue Serpent King duo, but at the end of the day, he was still that person in her heart, the person that she admired and chased after. Looks like there are some people who understand. Zhou Feng gave a faint nod toward the direction of Senior Marshal Brothers Yuge. Zhou Feng might have chased after the Blue Serpent King duo and given them a beating about the problem of the fake purple-haired demonic duo, but he was too disdainful to actually explain the issue to everyone else. Senior Marshal Brothers Yuge saw through the non-humans' true identities in the building of refinement, and Zhou Feng admired that. Whoosh! With a flash of silver and purple, Nan Gongqing appeared next to Zhou Feng. Purple-haired demonic duo. The hearts of some kings and half-step kings shook. The complete demonic duo had appeared in front of them. The one that attacked a moment ago was Zhou Feng alone. Brother Zhou. Senior Marshal Brothers Yuge spoke. There's still more than 20 days till the Black Destruction Serpent Dragon charges into Ziyang Palace. I hope that we humans can work together and face this enemy together. In other words, he wished the demonic duo would work together with them, or at least not cause any internal conflict. Zhou Feng obviously knew what he meant and nodded his head. The Black Serpent Dragon is unrivaled, so we have to use our intelligence. Does that mean that Brother Zhou has some sort of plan? A light flashed across Senior Marshal Brothers Yuge's eyes. The two exchanged glances, but neither of them spoke. Although Zhou Feng no longer had a mark of destruction anymore, that didn't mean Senior Marshal Brothers Yuge was the same. Outside Ziyang Palace, the black-scaled body of the Black Destruction Serpent Dragon spun in the air as it used its claws and tail to smash against the god's forbidden array. As time passed, more flaws and holes started to appear in the god's forbidden array. Its defense was weakening. Everyone within Ziyang Palace was a step closer to death with every moment that passed. Zhou Feng knew for sure that the Black Serpent Dragon was unrivaled. After all, it was once in existence that could fight against an ancient god. At the very minimum, the Black Serpent Dragon was a demigod, and it most likely had reached the heavenly divine realm. Ha ha ha. The god's forbidden array is weaker than I thought. I'll be able to enter Ziyang Palace within 20 days. A crazy laughter sounded in Ziyang Palace as a surging intent of destruction appeared. The heart of anyone who had a mark of destruction shook. There's only 20 days left. The hearts of many experts within Ziyang Palace became heavy. On the tree, a lot can happen in 20 days. Zhou Feng slowly got up with a calm gaze. It wasn't as if he hadn't been in such dangerous situations before. Back in the day, he entered the Purple Saint ruins as an outsider and faced 3 two-star forces by himself as a mere spirit realm. The pursuit of death was also extremely dangerous. He was chased by one of the most ancient and powerful emperors of the King Ocean for several years. However, this time, the opponent was in existence that he couldn't defeat. Let's go to the building of refinement. Zhou Feng and Nan Gongsheng jumped onto the ground. He remembered that there were still a few complete items on the tattered weapon rack, including a shield and some arrows. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The geniuses that had chased after the Blue Serpent King duo also returned to the building of refinement. Zhou Feng and Nan Gongsheng were neither fast nor slow. Let me inspect the substandard god weapon first. Zhou Feng's gaze landed on the arm guard on his arm. The material of the arm guard seemed like bronze and silver, but it looked extremely normal. However, if one looked closely, one could feel that it was extremely old and interesting. The Misty Spatial World is a supportive space-type substandard god weapon. Its abilities include storage, moving through space, setting a mark in space, teleportation, and various other things, Nan Gongsheng said with envy. Since Nan Gongsheng specialized in space, he knew a lot more about the legends that were related to the laws of space. With the help of Nan Gongsheng, Zhou Feng soon understood how to use this substandard god weapon. The ancient metal ring on Zhou Feng's hand was now a thing of the past. The Misty Spatial World had the ability to store items since it had its own little world, and the space within it was several times bigger than Zhou Feng's birthplace of Cloud Country. Furthermore, this little world wasn't merely at the early stages of barely materializing like a normal emperor's little world. Zhou Feng's divine sense entered the Misty Spatial World and touched the little world within. This little world was similar to the Purple Saint ruins. It had its own laws, mountains, rivers, air, water, and heaven-earth yuan-chi. There were even some beasts and humans. As expected of a substandard god weapon, Zhou Feng couldn't help but exclaim. The best thing about the Misty Spatial World was that it didn't require the owner to have a high cultivation. Once someone obtained this substandard god weapon, it was the same thing as immediately becoming the ruler of their own little world. As for the storage ability of the Misty Spatial World, since it was a separate dimension based on the little world, it was much more stable. Even a demigod would find it hard to damage it. Apart from that, the Misty Spatial World also had the ability to move through space and teleport to certain places. In theory, as long as there's enough power, we can use the Misty Spatial World to instantly return to the King Ocean if we set a spatial mark down in the true martial sacred land, Nan Gongsheng said with expectation. Return to the King Ocean? Zhou Feng jumped up in fright. The Misty Spatial World had such power? It's not just the owner of the Misty Spatial World that can teleport. The owner can also transfer other things to faraway locations, Nan Gongsheng added. Ability to transfer? Zhou Feng was overjoyed. Although this substandard god weapon didn't have much battle power, its supportive abilities were heaven-defying, and its true value was probably close to an ancient god weapon. Unfortunately, we can't leave a spatial mark in the outside world from here, otherwise we could just return to the continent anytime we wanted. We wouldn't even need to be scared of the Black Destruction Serpent Dragon, Nan Gongsheng added regretfully. Maybe, but maybe not. Zhou Feng shook his head. The god's forbidden array around Ziyang Palace is extremely strong, so things that can happen in normal places might not be able to happen here. However, even then, Zhou Feng and Nan Gongsheng were slightly regretfully. If Zhou Feng had gotten this substandard god weapon in the outside world and left down a spatial mark, he could instantly teleport away from most places. Of course, there were some remaining spatial marks on the substandard god weapon itself, but they were much too far away to be sensed, so they couldn't be used to teleport out of here. Even if he could sense them, Zhou Feng didn't want to use them. Who knew what kind of death trap he might end up in? Sang. Zhou Feng and Nan Gongsheng entered the six-sided building of refinement. Master. The silver-armored Deng Zhao of Sky Suspension Palace sent a private message to Zhou Feng. Through Deng Zhao, Zhou Feng could see what was happening in the building of refinement even if he didn't enter it. In the air inside the building of refinement, the progress toward the rusty bronze sword, the curved blade, and the notched axe was much better than before. Amongst them, the ancient god-level rusty bronze sword was still releasing a brilliant beam of green sword light that interacted with the sword light that was the little sword saint. They formed a balance in the air, and they even defied the restriction on flying in Ziyang Palace. One could faintly see the little sword saint's hand touch the rusty bronze sword, and he was covered in the power of the tattered ancient god sword that even emperors didn't dare to touch. On the other hand, the other two substandard god weapons were about to be tamed. The notched axe landed above the three imperial princes. The 8th, 9th, and 13th princes teamed up and used their secret bloodline technique to finally gain some recognition from this substandard god weapon. However, the one with the most progress was the curved blade. Come! Xuani Yuanwen formed countless waves of light from his hand, which wrapped around the curved blade. At the same time, his emperor-level magnificent power and intent filled the air, and a weird piece of jade on his neck released a glowing white light that covered his body. Wang Jang. The curved blade shook and suddenly turned into a snow-white crystal-scaled blade that landed in the handsome youth's hand. At this moment, a snow-like flash of blade light slashed through the air, and an indescribable blade force lit up the crater. The bodies of all the kings shook, and they felt like their souls were about to shatter. Xuani Yuanwen managed to grip the snow-white crystal-scaled blade, and his handsome face went red. Right at this moment, Zhou Feng and Nan Gongsheng walked into the building of refinement. Chapter 852, Scaring the Crowd. When Zhou Feng and Nan Gongsheng entered the building of refinement, their senses were covered by a flashing blade that lit up the entire area. It felt like an icy cold feeling slashed through their mental energy. The beaming snow-white blade light sliced through the air, and waves of snowy lightning seemed to almost slash the entire dimension into pieces. Xuani Yuanwen succeeded! Exclamations sounded from within the building of refinement. Most experts had wary and respectful expressions. Xuani Yuanwen was indeed worthy of being a prodigy of the 4-star Sky Suspension Palace. He had become an emperor at such a young age, and he was recognized by a substandard god weapon. He was ranked 7th on the Imperial Genius rankings, which was the highest ranked cultivator amongst those that had entered the Divine Illusion dimension. If he was able to leave the Divine Illusion dimension, he would definitely go up a few ranks, as expected of a substandard god weapon. Zhou Feng's footsteps paused for a moment before he continued walking inside the building of refinement. Although he had obtained a substandard god weapon as well, it was just a support type weapon with not many offensive capabilities. On the other hand, the force of that substandard god blade had exceeded the limits of an emperor. It could even threaten Mystic Light Realm sacred lords. Of course, Xuani Yuanwen couldn't completely and truly control such a substandard god weapon. Just gaining its recognition expended a lot of his energy. At this moment, Xuani Yuanwen's face was red as he circulated all his power to control this substandard god weapon. More precisely, he didn't aim to control it, just stabilize it. Only demigods can unleash the true power of a substandard god weapon, Nan Gongsheng murmured, and he and Zhou Feng couldn't help but think of the demigod Kunyun. At his peak, demigod Kunyun was glorious, and he was considered strong even among demigods. Back at the 10,000 Treasures Tower in the demigod Forgotten Garden, Zhou Feng and Nan Gongsheng obtained the Skylocking Bow and the Qiankun Sword, which weren't even from the highest level of the 10,000 Treasures Tower. One could imagine that the demigod Kunyun probably had strong inheritance sacred weapons, heaven-grade divine weapons, or even substandard god weapons. Congratulations, Senior Martial Brother Xuani Yuan. The kings from Sky Suspension Palace revealed joyful expressions as well as some envy and admiration. Protect Junior Martial Brother Xuani Yuan. The apricot-robed girl led some people and guarded around Xuani Yuanwen. Whoosh! Senior Martial Brothers Yuge also approached and started guarding. No need. Xuani Yuanwen took a deep breath, and his emperor intent became tougher and stronger with the force and laws of the substandard god weapon. However, his energy was being expended. At the same time, elsewhere in the building of refinement, quick, put some more energy in. The three great gone imperial princes tried to obtain the notched axe. The ninth prince was the strongest, and he was in the middle. Their power started to make the notched axe slowly descend. Wang tilde boom. The notched axe suddenly turned into the size of a small mountain that almost reached the top of the six-sided building. It gave off a dark light that shook the air. At this moment, everyone within the building of refinement felt their body become heavy. Wah! Some of the weaker kings spat out a mouthful of blood as their bodies shook. Control it. The three princes combined forces and managed to stabilize the mountain-sized notched axe in front of them. Wing! The giant axe started to slowly compress until it was more than a dozen yards long, and its source started to fade. Because the notched axe was a heavy weapon, it was harder to control, so the three princes had to combine their strength to stabilize it. At this moment, two incomplete substandard god weapons had been obtained. The Imperials and Sky Suspension Palace had the strongest forces present, so the kings from other forces obviously didn't dare to steal from them. Is that the purple-haired demonic duo? Someone exclaimed. Watch out, those two thieves are back. Some of the kings were wary. After all, the purple-haired demonic duo were infamous for ambushing and stealing from others. The only items in the building of refinement that are complete seem to be on the weapon stand, Zhou Feng privately told Nan Gongsheng. The demonic duo started to walk toward the depths of the crater like nothing was wrong. Purple-haired demonic duo, how dare you two come back? You're courting death. There were some kings in the building of refinement that didn't know what was going on, and they thought that they were the fake purple-haired demonic duo from before. Only the kings that left and returned had respect in their eyes. Purple-haired demonic duo. Killing intent flashed through Xuani Uinwen's eyes after he stabilized the substandard god weapon. In an instant, magnificent power and intent shook the soul dimension and covered Zhou Feng and Nan Gongsheng. Junior Marshal Brother Xuani Uin, stop. Senior Marshal Brothers Yuge wanted to stop him but was a bit too late. Xuani Uinwen, take the lead, and we'll capture the demonic duo together. There were many voices that agreed with Xuani Uinwen attacking the purple-haired demonic duo. The other kings from Sky Suspension Palace, such as the girl in apricot robes, also didn't know what was going on and were full of enmity towards Zhou Feng. The fake purple-haired demonic duo had ambushed even Sky Suspension Palace. Boom! A magnificent power was about to cover Zhou Feng and Nan Gongsheng. Some of the kings who knew the truth were planning to watch this show because they had seen Zhou Feng defeat the Blue Serpent King duo alone. Would the purple-haired demonic duo be able to retreat unharmed even against Xuani Uinwen, an emperor wielding a substandard god weapon? HMPH. Zhou Feng snickered coldly as he kept on walking. He didn't even stop. Wayne tilde. A white mist covered the duo. Little world? A substandard god weapon? Xuani Uinwen was slightly surprised. Although he was an emperor, he hadn't formed his own little world yet. Furthermore, the misty spatial world's little world wasn't any average little world. Incredibly, Xuani Uinwen's emperor intent was like a stone that had fallen into the ocean. There were no signs of any disturbance. How is this possible? A little world exists in the physical dimension and doesn't have much defense against the power of intent. Furthermore, all little worlds and domains are suppressed in Ziyang Palace, so they can't unleash their full strength. Xuani Uinwen was slightly baffled. After becoming an emperor, he knew a lot more than others. I don't believe it. Xuani Uinwen circulated his emperor intent to the maximum, and his magnificent power crushed towards Zhou Feng and Nan Gongsheng. Nan Gongsheng's heart jumped. This emperor intent seemed to have the ability to slice through all intent, and it suppressed his soul. However, mockery formed on Zhou Feng's face, and a weird scene appeared. Boom! Xuani Uinwen's body suddenly shook, and he groaned as thunder and lightning seemed to flash in his soul. Junior Marshal Brother Xuani Uin, are you okay? The expressions of the apricot-robed female, Senior Marshal Brothers Yuge, and company changed dramatically. Xuani Uinwen's body shook, and his face went red. He almost lost control of the substandard god weapon in his hand. He felt that his emperor intent had been blocked by 10,000 arcs of immortal lightning. The first time, his emperor intent was like a stone that sunk into the ocean, but this time, he was counterattacked. He could feel a numbing sensation from his emperor intent. Xuan Yuanwen, you better hold on to your substandard god weapon first. Zhou Feng gave a smile as he and Nan Gongshan kept walking toward the crater as if nothing happened. You! Xuan Yuanwen's face turned green and red as if he had been choked. No one was entirely sure about the situation with the substandard god weapon, but after being distracted just now, Xuan Yuanwen almost lost control of it. This scene made the mouths of the other kings drop open. Those two thieves managed to ignore Xuan Yuanwen's emperor intent. On top of that, Xuan Yuanwen seems to be the one at a disadvantage. Junior martial brother Xuan Yuan needed to stabilize the substandard god weapon and couldn't use his full strength, which is what allowed the mnemonic duo to succeed. Chaos broke out as the kings started to talk with each other, and the expressions of those planning to watch a show were extremely colorful. Junior martial brother Xuan Yuan. Senior martial brother's Yuji's expression was solemn as he put a hand on Xuan Yuanwen's shoulder. Senior martial brother's Yuji. Xuan Yuanwen glanced at senior martial brother's Yuji after stabilizing the substandard god weapon. It's a long story, but we shouldn't offend Zhou Feng if we can help it, senior martial brother's Yuji said solemnly. Hearing that, the other kings from Sky Suspension Palace, including the apricot-robed female, were stunned. Although the strength of the purple-haired demonic duo already surprised them, they placed even greater importance on them after hearing senior martial brothers Yuji's words. Those thieves managed to get the misty spatial world, and even Xuan Yuanwen can't suppress them. The 13th prince gritted his teeth as hatred overtook his face. The 8th prince and Luo Zun exchanged glances with solemn expressions. They had interacted with Zhou Feng more than once or twice, but every time they met Zhou Feng, he seemed to become more mysterious than before. This opponent was just a bottomless hole. The deeper one went, the more terrified they felt. At this moment, the purple-haired demonic duo walked around the crater step by step, and the route they took was the exact same as the Blue Serpent King from before. Some of the kings that had returned told everyone else what happened. The purple-haired demonic duo from before was the Blue Serpent King and the Thousand Changes illusionist dragon. They were defeated by Zhou Feng alone, and he stole a substandard god weapon from them. The kings that received this news were stunned. Even Xuan Yuanwen's eyes became wary as he looked toward the mnemonic duo after hearing this news. At this moment in time, the three strongest forces, Xuan Yuanwen, the three princes, and the little sword saints, were distracted because of the peerless weapons. Zhou Feng and Nan Gongshan entering at this moment meant that they were scared of nothing. Zhou Feng, if we really fought just now. Nan Gongshan started to sweat. Our chances of winning against Xuan Yuanwen or the three princes are low, but the situation is under our control. Zhou Feng gave a faint smile. Hearing that, Nan Gongshan couldn't help but look around, and all the kings from the other forces had wary expressions and didn't dare to look directly at his eyes.